Hi, this is Tim. Welcome to Tim Can Cook. Today we're going to be making chicken fried steak. This is a Southern classic, which takes an inexpensive cut of beef and makes it manageable for a family. So today we're going to be using bottom round. Now bottom round, it was $4.99 a pound in my grocery store. And this one, as you can see, is a little brown on one side, a little brighter red on the other. Don't ever let this bother you in the grocery store. This was discounted because it's old. And I always laugh at that because we spend good money to buy aged beef. This beef is just getting more tender by aging in the shelf where nobody bought it. So the fact that it was reduced in price, I paid only $3.49 a pound for this. And we're going to prep this for our chicken fried steak. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this fat. Now we don't need this on our chicken fried steak. In fact, we don't want it. But more importantly, we're going to run this through the Kitchenaid meat tenderizer. And this little chunk here, this is very, very hard fat. And the Kitchenaid doesn't like this at all. It's very, very hard, this piece. So we're going to get rid of that. In addition, I'm going to have these into smaller portions because when these run through the Kitchenaid, they will be enlarged. And this just makes them more manageable and makes them easier single-sized portions. So when we come back, we'll run this through the Kitchenaid and we'll be ready to bread it and fry it. Whoops, forgot a step. We'll never be able to get this through the Kitchenaid. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut these down into less than a ½ inch thick. Now, the tenderizing attachment on the Kitchenaid says it will take up to 3/4 inch. Yeah, I don't believe that. So we're going to take these down to about a ½ inch. And that'll get us 3 little steaks out of each half. So it'll be 6 pieces. And there'll be really 2 pieces to a portion when we go to cook this. So next time I'm back, we'll be tenderizing these in the Kitchenaid. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to run these pieces of round steak through the meat tenderizer attachment on the Kitchenaid. So here we go. We're going to run each one through 3 times. And this will give us nicely tenderized pieces of meat. Now, you don't have this attachment, that's fine. You can use a meat hammer, you can use a number of tenderizing tools, but this works really, really well. And as you can see, it's very simple. Just never put your fingers in there. That would be a very bad thing to happen. So we're going to go ahead and just run all these through. Remember, we've trimmed the heavy fat off, and that's important. This attachment doesn't like really thick, heavy fat, and the meat needs to be cut to about a ½ inch thickness in order to run through this successfully. So I'll go ahead and finish these up, and we'll come back with the breading station in just a minute. Okay, we have our breading station set up. Now we're just going to take each piece and we're going to start it off in the seasoned flour. Now this is just flour in both of these. Now this flour has salt and pepper in it, so it's well seasoned already. The egg wash is also seasoned. It's just 3 eggs with a splash of milk just to break up the eggs a little bit. So we're dredging the meat, and then we'll set it aside here on this rack and let it rest for about 10 minutes. That resting period will allow this dredge to attach itself really quite well so that when we cook it, it won't fall off. Very simple dredge. You could use panko for this third step if you wished, but the classic approach for chicken fried steak is just seasoned flour. So we'll go ahead and dredge the rest of these. We'll let them rest for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be back to fry them. All right, we've let our meat rest with the breading on it. Now we're ready to put it into a pan. So what I have over here on the stove is a frying pan set on medium-high heat with about 1/4 cup of peanut oil. You can use any high temperature oil there you'd like. I wouldn't use olive oil, but you could use a good vegetable oil. In this case, I'm using peanut oil. And we're going to fry these just about 4 minutes aside. So here we go. Now we want to make sure we don't crowd the pan. So we'll put just 3 of these in. And you see it's not super high heat, it's just medium-high heat. So we're getting a nice penetrating sizzle on it. If it were really high, then the meat would sear off without cooking on the inside. So just about 4 minutes aside. Yeah, first side looks beautiful. And again, it's going to be about 4 minutes on the second side. Now after these first batches finished, you put them on a wire rack and put them in a 250-degree oven to keep them warm while you cook off the second batch, or as many as you're going to cook. So we'll be back in just a few minutes where we'll make our gravy. Now that we have our chicken fried steak finished and removed from the pan, we're going to add in about 3 tablespoons of flour. This is just a leftover dredging flour to the remaining oil. If we needed a little more oil, we could have added it. We're just going to brown this flour a little bit, get rid of that flour flavor, and scrape up all of those tasty bits off the bottom of the pan. Once we have a little bit of that floury taste out, we're going to add 2 cups of chicken stock. This is homemade chicken stock, but you can use store-bought. If you use store-bought, just don't get the stock with salt in it already. We want to control the salt ourselves. We will salt to taste. So any of the boxed chicken stocks with no salt will work just fine. Now we're just going to let this come to a boil so it starts to reduce. We've got all those good bits off the bottom of the pan now. And this will just take a second to come to a boil. So we'll just be a little patient here. Now that this is simmering, starting to thicken up, we're going to add 1/2 cup of milk. This could be cream if you'd like it to be a little more rich, but the milk is fine. And 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. If it was in season, we would be adding fresh thyme, but it's not in season, and so the dried will work just fine. I wish you could smell this. I wish we had smell-o-vision. Really nice. And we're just going to let this thicken a little more. We want to make sure it can coat the back of a spoon. And that is pretty good. You can see how the line on the back of my spoon doesn't collapse. That's about the thickness that we're after. We need a little more salt and pepper to taste. I do like quite a bit of pepper in my gravy. It doesn't need too much salt. There's already a little bit in there. Just give it another little stir. And another little taste. Oh, and that's perfect. So when we come back, we'll show you the finished product. So now we have our beautiful Southern classic chicken fried steak made with inexpensive bottom round. And we'll take a taste here in just a second. All right, so here we have it. Our Southern classic chicken fried steak made from inexpensive bottom round. And let's just go ahead and have a taste here. Delicious, tender, wonderful flavor on that gravy. You really just have to try this. So that was chicken fried steak, true Southern classic. Please join us again next time on Tim Can Cook. If you like this one, subscribe, hit the bell, give me a follow. I need the follow help I can get. Send this to your friends. And we'll be back on the next episode of Tim Can Cook.